What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay Free, aka Debt Guy, and today we're going to discuss which should you prioritize, your family or your career. Now, ladies, I'm definitely speaking to you on this topic, and as always, I'm only speaking to those ladies who actually want to be in a long-term relationship. If this isn't you, I promise you don't need my help, and I'm probably going to irritate you, if not worse. So let's get into it. Which should you prioritize, your family or your career? Well, let's start with what you ladies are being taught. You're being taught to prioritize your career. You're being taught and performing on this teaching to be more educated and more accomplished in your career fields and to postpone having or raising a family. Well, what has your reality taught you? First off, statistically speaking, you're more educated now than ever before, and even more educated than men. However, statistics also continue to show us that although your intent is to have both your family and your career, those women who do prioritize their career, or at the very least their education, are finding it harder and harder to be in long-lasting relationships with the men that they want. Statistics also show us that the more educated a woman is, the more likely she is to leave the relationship or marriage that she's in, regardless of the reason. Now, as I stated before, I don't care who's right or wrong. I simply realize that if what is being taught isn't working, more than likely there's a logical reason why. And instead of trying to force this what's supposed to happen mindset, I analyze what's actually happening and follow the information where it leads me. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So let's take the career discussion first, and we'll come back to the family discussion. At 18, you ladies are graduating high school and going off to college, seeking that 4-year degree. You're seeking this 4-year degree on a pathway for a particular career of your choosing. You're seeking this in an effort to gain a level of self-sufficient independence so that obviously it puts you in a position where you are less likely to need anyone in your life. And what are the skills that you've learned along the way? Well, in most cases, you've learned to be assertive, you learned to be disciplined, you've learned to have an outlined structure to successfully govern your life. Now, I hope you ladies understand that not only are you successful in entertaining these attributes, you are incredibly successful at it. It's yielding the exact results you want it to yield. However, it just comes with one obstacle. When a man finally attains some sort of security in his independence, and I'm only talking about those men that actually want families, he does so knowing that he's placed himself in a position so that his family can be dependent upon him. However, when a woman becomes independent, she has unintentionally made it difficult for the man that she wants to be in her life. Now, stay with me. It's difficult because, or not because she's doing anything wrong or he's doing anything wrong. It's difficult because the attributes that you want a man to have, you yourself possess. And not only do you possess these attributes, you've put them to use and have become extremely successful with them. And these attributes we know are necessary for being independent, being assertive, being disciplined, being domineering. So if you have a man in your life who is going to do those things, naturally you're going to clash and potentially have frustration. So suddenly the qualities that you wanted in a man now seem to be something that isn't meshing with you. Now, because he's trying to lead you, and you know you're capable of leading yourself, you call his efforts controlling. Or because he's trying to provide a structure with boundaries, and you know you're capable of doing these things yourself, you begin to label them as manipulating. Unfortunately, the very things you want in your man now become a challenge for you simply because your mindset is no longer that of someone who wants a leader. You've become the leader. And here's probably the most ironic part. If he continues to challenge you, that is going to be a continued annoyance and you will inevitably want to leave. However, if he begins to submit to you because he doesn't want to continue to challenge and argue with you, you start to lose a little bit of respect for him because you're effectively leading him and not the other way around. And naturally, this is not a position that feels right to you and you inevitably want to leave. And obviously, if you don't leave, well, we've just defined a common scenario where you're just tolerating your significant other. And I believe it's fair to say that no one wants to be in a relationship where they're just tolerating each other. So when reviewing this scenario, the fact that you've become a leader, or at the very least have a leader's mindset, is now affecting your ability to be happy with the man that you want in your life. And again, it's not because you've done anything wrong or he's done anything wrong. You just now realize that it's not a yin-yang situation. You're both yin and there's no yang. It doesn't exist. Nothing is flowing. Everything is a stalemate or a battle. Let's pivot now to the family. With many of our young ladies having children at a young age and some having multiple children, regardless of what your mouth says or what you believe you're trying to accomplish, your actions are saying creating a family is a priority to you. You just aren't being choosy as you're capable of picking the appropriate father. I'll even take it a step further. I've seen young ladies, sisters, aunts, mothers, grandmothers get very excited when they themselves, their sisters, nieces, daughters, granddaughters graduate high school or earn that college degree. But that excitement pales in comparison to those same individuals when they find out that their loved ones are going to be mothers. The celebration and preparation for career-oriented accomplishments don't even show up on the radar when compared to the celebration and preparation for an expected mother. I don't have to ask which matters more. I can see it. And depending on my closeness, I can sometimes feel that euphoric energy. You tell yourself you should prioritize your career, but you're obviously forcing yourself to redirect your focus from something that's just natural to something that's deliberate. So obviously, the question would be, if this brings you so much joy naturally, why then are you telling yourself to postpone it for something that doesn't compare? Honestly, what has your reality shown you? Are there women in large numbers who are excited to have careers for 20, 30, 40 years? And I know the vast majority of men are, but does it appear to be the same for women? Before my mother retired, she had been a nurse longer than I had been alive. She was a nurse before I was conceived. She was doing rounds on the floor while she was pregnant with me. And up until, here recently, she was still putting in that work. But knowing all that it took to do that, I've asked her, and she had no problem telling me, that if she had the option to be home with us, her children, and it would not significantly impact our family's financial situation, would she have chosen to be home? And without a second thought, she absolutely would. I actually know that she wanted to have 5 kids, but circumstances dictated that it was just going to be me and my brother, just 2. So here's a homework assignment. Ask the older women in your life, regardless of circumstance, if they have the option to be home with their family during their working years, and that wouldn't negatively impact the financial stability of their home, would they choose to be home or would they choose to work? Just for kicks, ask the same question to the older men in your life. I'm fairly confident that the majority of women, if not all of them, will tell you that they would definitely choose to be home if it would not impact the family's financial well-being. And although I do believe the majority of men will say the opposite, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mixture. Until next time, you can do it your way. But what has your reality taught you?